Hello everybody and welcome to chapter 26 of the book of Shemot as we continue to travel through Tanach. Chapter 26 has 37 verses and it's found in the Koren Sachs Chumash on page 546 and 547. In this chapter we are continuing to describe all of the different features of the Mishkan, the portable temple, that would accompany the Jewish people throughout their years in the desert and then into the land of Israel as well. We will read about the different curtains that were part of the infrastructure, the inner curtains, as well as the outer coverings that went over the top of the Mishkan. We'll also read about the wooden beams that formed the outer structure of the Mishkan building, as well as the entrance screen that became the front entrance to the Mishkan itself. Although the campus of the Mishkan was quite large, it was 100 amot by 50 amot, or about 175 feet by 87.5 feet, the Mishkan structure itself was considerably smaller. It was 30 amot in length and 10 amot in width. And that's around 15 meters by 5 meters. And within that structure, it was broken down even further. There was a 10 by 10 amot space, about 5 by 5 meters, which was known as the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies. They put the golden ark that we read about in the last chapter. At a space of 20 amot by 10 amot, which housed the golden menorah that we read about in the last chapter, as well as the shulchan, which displayed the loaves of bread, and the incense altar, which we haven't yet described, but was also part of this Kodesh space. With that introduction in mind, let us begin together with verse 1, where we're talking about the inner curtains. Ve'es hamishkan ta'aseh eser yiriyos. You shall make the Mishkan, the tabernacle, of 10 curtains, sheish mashzar, of finely spun twisted linen, usecheles, with a turquoisey colour, va'argaman, and a purple colour, v'solas shani, and a scarlet wool colour, kruvim ma'aseh choshev ta'aseh osam, with a design of kruvim, of cherubs, worked into them. Verse 2, orech hayiriyah ha'achas, the length of a single curtain was shmone ve'esrim ba'amah, 28 amos, which is about 14 meters, v'rochav arba ba'amah, hayiriyah ha'echas, and the width was 4 amos. Midah achas l'chol hayiriyos. All the curtains should be the same size. Verse 3, chamesh hayiriyos tihiyena chavros isha elachosa. 5 curtains shall be attached to one another, v'chamesh yiriyos chavros isha elachosa. And the other 5 curtains should be attached to one another as well. Verse 4, Va'asisa lulaos techeles. You shall make loops of turquoise wool, asfas hayiriyah ha'echas, mikatzah b'chovares, at the edge of the single curtain at the end of one set, v'chein ta'aseh b'sfas hayiriyah hakitzona b'machberes hashenis, and you shall make the same on the edge of the outermost curtain on the second set. Verse 5, Chamishim lulaos ta'aseh b'yiriyah ha'echas. 50 loops shall you make on the first curtain. V'chamishim lulaos ta'aseh b'ktzei hayiriyah asher b'machberes hashenis. And 50 loops shall you make on the end of the curtain that is on the second set. Makbilos halulaos isha elachosa. And the loops shall be opposite one another. Verse 6. V'asisa chamishim karsei zahav. Then you shall make 50 hooks of gold. V'chibarta es hayiriyos isha elachosa bakrasim. And you shall attach the curtains to one another with the hooks. V'haya hamishkan echad. So that the Mishkan becomes whole. Verse 7, now we talk about the tent covering. V'asisa yiriyos izim la'ohel al hamishkan. You shall make curtains of goat hair as a tent over the Mishkan. Ashtei esrei yiriyos taseh osam. Make 11 of these sheets. The length of a single curtain, shloshim ba'amah, would be 30 amos, which is about 15 meters. V'rochav arba ba'amah hayiriyah ha'echas. And the width of a single curtain should be 4 amos, which is about 2 meters. Midah achas la'ashtei esrei yiriyos. All 11 sheets should be the same size. Verse 9, V'chibarta es chamesh hayiriyos levad. You shall attach 5 of the curtains separately. Ve'es sheish hayiriyos levad. And 6 of the curtains separately. V'chafalta es hayiriyah hashishis el mul pnei ha'ohel. And you shall fold the 6th curtain over the front of the tent. Verse 10, Va'asisa chamishim lulaos al sfas hayiriyah ha'echas hakitzona b'chovares. You shall make 50 loops on the edge of the first curtain at the end of one set, v'chamishim lulaos al sfas hayiriyah ha'chovares hashenis, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain of the second set. Verse 11, Va'asisa karsei nechoshes chamishim. You shall make 50 hooks of copper. Vehevesa esa krasim balulaos. And you shall bring the hooks into the loops. V'chibarta esa ohel. And attach it to join the tent together. V'haya echad. So that it shall become one. Verse 12. V'serach ha'odef biriyos ha'ohel. As for the additional length of these tent curtains, chatzi ha'yeriyah ha'odefes tisrach ala chorei ha'mishkan. Half of the extra curtain shall hang over the back of the Mishkan. And that is because when you have got these 11 curtains, which are 4 amot wide, stitched together, that produces 44 amot, which are running across the length of the Mishkan, which is 30 amot. So there's going to be 10 amot that drape over the back side of the Mishkan. Verse 13, V'ha'ama mizeh, v'ha'ama mizeh, and the extra amma on each side, ba'odef ba'orech yiriyos ha'ohel, that are extra in the length of the curtains of the tent, because if you recall, the inner curtains were 28 amos, and these ones are 30 amos, yihiyeh saruach al tzidei ha'mishkan, shall hang over the sides of the Mishkan, mizeh u'mizeh lechasosa, on each side to cover it. So whereas the inner curtains would be draped over the Mishkan and would mean that there is an amma of exposed space at the bottom, on the outside, where these goat hides are 30 amos long, they will be draped over the width of the Mishkan, which is 10 amos, and then the remaining 20 amos would flow over each side of the Mishkan, right down to the ground level. Verse 14, Va'asisa michseh la'ohel, you shall make a cover for the tent, oros elim adamim, of ram skins which have been dyed red, umichsei oros techashim milamala, and a cover of tachash skins above them. And the tachash fabric would protect the Mishkan from inclement weather. Verse 15, we start to talk about the walls of the Mishkan, the wooden beams that would surround the space, which in total would be making a floor plan of 30 amos by 10 amos, but it's going to be comprised of individual wooden beams which are 1.5 amos wide. Verse 15, Va'asisa esa krashim la-mishkan, you shall make the planks, the beams of the Mishkan, atzei shittim omdim. You shall make them out of acacia wood, and they should each be standing upright. Verse 16, Esa amos orech hakaresh, each beam should be 10 amos, which is about 5 meters tall. Va'ama v'chetzi ha'ama rochav hakeresh ha'echad, and the width of each beam should be 1.5 amos, which is about 3/4 of a meter. Now our rabbis ask, where are the Israelites getting acacia wood from? Why would they have wood with them? After all, it was only very recently that they had to leave the land of Egypt. And our rabbis explain that it was actually Yaakov, our forefather, who planted these acacia trees with the foreknowledge that one day the Jewish people will leave the land of Egypt and they will need these trees for some kind of purpose. Whether he would have known they would need it to build the Mishkan, I'm not entirely sure. But he certainly planted these acacia trees in anticipation of his descendants leaving slavery in Egypt. And this is one example that the rabbis point out of our ancestors living with a deep-seated faith that despite the hardships they may have to go through, there will be a time where life becomes better. Verse 17, Shtei yados lakeresh ha'echad, each beam should have 2 tenons, and the tenon is a protrusion at the bottom of each of these beams, which we will see are going to plug in to a silver base. Mushalavos isha elachosa, parallel to one another. Kain ta'aseh lechol karshei hamishkan. All of the Mishkan's beams should be made in this way. Verse 18, Va'asisa es hakrashim la Mishkan. You shall make the beams for the Mishkan. Esrim keresh lifas negba seimana. 20 beams for the south side. Verse 19, Varbayim adnei chesef ta'aseh tachas esrim hakaresh. You shall make 40 silver sockets under the 20 planks. Shnei adanim tachas hakeresh ha'echad l'shtei yadosav. 2 sockets under one plank for its 2 tenons, for its 2 bottom protrusions. L'shnei adanim tachas hakeresh ha'echad l'shtei yadosav. And 2 sockets under the next plank for its 2 tenons. Verse 20, Uletzela hamishkan hashenis lifas safon esrim karesh. For the second wall of the Mishkan on the north side, there will be another 20 beams. Verse 21, V'arbaim adnehem kasef, and there are 40 silver sockets, Shnei adanim tachas hakeresh ha'echad, 2 sockets under one beam, Shnei adanim tachas hakeresh ha'echad, and 2 sockets under the next beam. Verse 22, Uliyar Krisei HaMishkan Yama, and for the back of the Mishkan on the western side, and Yama, if you think of the landscape of the land of Israel, Yama means west, because on the west side of the land of Israel is the Yam, is the sea. Ta'aseh Shisha Krashim, you shall make 6 beams. Verse 23, Ushnei Krashim Ta'aseh Lemiksaos HaMishkan B'yar Chasayim, you shall make 2 beams for the corners of the Mishkan in the back. Verse 24, V'yihiyu soamim milamata, and they shall be even at the bottom. V'yachtav yihiyu samim al rosho el hataba'as ha'echas, and they should be joined together at the top by a ring. Kein yihiyeh lishneihem lishnei hamitzos yihiyu. So shall it be for both of the 2 corners. That's how they should form them. Verse 25, V'hayu shmona krashim, so there should be 8 beams. V'adnehem kesef, and their silver sockets, Shisha Asa Adanim, 16 sockets, Shnei Adanim Tachas HaKeresh HaEchad, 2 sockets under one beam, Shnei Adanim Tachas HaKeresh HaEchad, and 2 sockets under the next beam. So we've got 20 beams running along the length of the Mishkan on the north and south sides, which make a total of 30 amos. And then along the west side, we've got 6 beams at 1.5 amos, which bring us to 9 amos, and then 2 corner beams which run along the back side as well. Verse 26, V'asisa vrichim adsei shitim, you shall make bars of acacia wood, chamisha lekarshe tzela hamishkan ha'echad, 5 for the beams on one side of the Mishkan. Verse 27, V'chamisha vrichim lekarshe tzela hamishkan hashenis, and 5 for the beams of the second wall of the Mishkan. V'chamisha vrichim lekarshe tzela hamishkan layar chasayim yama, and 5 bars for the beams of the Mishkan wall at the back on the west side. Verse 28, V'abriach hatichon, and the middle bar, B'soch hakrashim, which should go through the middle of the beams, Mavriach min hakatzeh el hakatzeh, should extend from one end to the other. So whereas these 5 beams would help stabilize the walls in pieces, there should be one unbroken beam that runs through the entire length of the wall, which would be there to stabilize the structure. Verse 29, Ve'esa krashim titzapeh zahav, these bars should be covered with gold. V'estabosehem taseh zahav, batim labruchim, and you shall make its rings of gold as housing for the bars. V'tzipisai sabruchim zahav, and the crossbars too should be overlaid with gold. Verse 30, V'hakei mosa esa mishkan, you shall construct the Mishkan, kemishpato asher ha'esa bahar, according to the plan that you were shown on the mountain. Verse 31, we start to talk about the inner curtain, the paroches. Va'asisa faroches techeles va'argaman, you shall make a curtain of this turquoisey sky blue colour and the purple colour. V'salas shani v'shesh mashzar, and scarlet wool and fine twisted linen. Maseh choshev yaseh osa kruvim, with the design of kruvim worked into it. Verse 32, V'nosata osa al arba amudei shitim, you shall place it upon 4 pillars of acacia wood, mitzupim zahav, which are covered with gold, vavehem zahav, with hooks of gold, al arba adnei chasef, upon 4 silver sockets. Verse 33, V'nosata esa paroches tachas hakrasim, hang the curtain under the clasps, v'hevesa shama mibeis la paroches es aron ha'idus, and bring the ark, the golden ark of the testimony behind it, v'hivdila ha'paroches lachem bein hakodesh uvein kodesh hakodashim, so that the curtain separates the holy place from the Holy of Holies. Verse 34, V'nosata esa kapares al aron ha'idus b'kodesh hakodashim, put the cover on the ark of the testimony in the Holy of Holies. Verse 35, V'samtai sashulchan michutz la paroches, you shall place the golden table which would display the loaves of bread, michutz la paroches, outside the curtain, v'es ha-menorah nochach ha-shulchan, and place the menorah opposite the table, al tzela ha-mishkan teimana, on the south side of the Mishkan, v'ha-shulchan titein al tzela tzafon, and the table shall be placed on the north side. Verse 36, what about the eastern side? So the verse says, V'asisa masach lepesach ha'ohel, Make a screen for the entrance of the tent, Techeles, of this turquoisey sky blue wool, Va'argaman, and purple wool, V'solas shani, and the scarlet wool, V'sheish mashzar, and the finely twisted linen, Maseh rokaim, made by professional embroiderer. And finally, verse 37, Va'asisa lamasach, you shall make for the screen, Chamisha amudei shitim, 5 beams of acacia wood, V'tzipisa osam zahav, and you shall cover them with gold, V'avehem zahav, and their hooks shall be gold, V'yotzakta lahem chamisha adnei nechoshes, you shall cast for them 5 sockets of copper. And that brings us to the end of chapter 26. In chapter 27, we will reach the end of Parashat Terumah and jump over into the beginning of Parashat Tetzaveh as well. We will read about the altar and the courtyard and the oil that also formed part of the construction of this Mishkan. I look forward to learning that chapter with you. In the meantime, have a wonderful and meaningful day.